So, discuss about the paper. So, first question was discuss the nature and logic of anthropological fieldwork methods. Do these differ from other social sciences? The nature and logic of anthropological fieldwork method. क्या लिखा आपने? What did you write? Right? The nature and logic of field work method. As we know that anthropology is a science, right? Science, biosocioscience, biological social science. So as what happens in science, that to perform experiment, they require a lab. In that lab, they make experiments, observe, and then they inference, make results, theories, right? Same happens with the anthropology, right? So anthropological people, they work on society. And what is field work? Field work is a technique where an anthropologist work on a society in their own natural habitat, right? And these societies work as the lab for those people, right? There they observe the socio-cultural status, their functions, role, everything there. So the nature of fieldwork is completely scientific in nature, right? It is totally scientific, systematic, holistic, right? And fieldwork itself, right, is completely based on a systematic study which was started by French Boas, right? Where and for what? For the collecting of data, and then to observe it and finally to interpret and execute and finally to formulate a theorem. And what is the logic behind fieldwork method? What are the logic are there for the fieldwork method? What logic are there? Because anthropology is a science, you cannot make all the observation interviews as a person at home or an armchair person, right? Fieldwork is all about the collecting accurate data, appropriate observation, and a proper theorem about the socio-cultural status of any ethnic group or tribe or a society. So what is the logic behind fieldwork? That is the logic. Anthropologist actually works as a scientist, right? And for that they choose fieldwork to collect proper data, interpret and observe them along with the society, right, using various methods, right, and then they formulate a theorem which is very much near to the reality. Clear? Now fieldwork method, as we discussed, we shall take example of fieldwork method that for French Boas, then we have Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, Cora Dubos, and Radcliffe Brown, and finally Malinowski, right? In fieldwork we have various methods which are used, right? What was those method? Observation, scientific method, and historical method, comparative method, ethnographic method, right? So these are the methods we use in historical. Observation method, in observation we have participatory and controlled and uncontrolled. So participatory observation, non-participatory observation, semi-participatory observation that we use, then observation, then we have historical, then we have comparative, cross-culture, then we have statistical, genealogical method, right? All these methods are used in fieldwork method. Along with this, for the proper observation, we use some techniques or tools as the survey, questionnaire, interview, right? Schedule, all these things. थोड़ा सा आपको कहना, like question is about the nature and logic of anthropological fieldwork methods. हमने लिख लिया. Do these differ from other social sciences? Now here we shall write. That in other social sciences for fieldwork, they use what they use. First, they don't use fieldwork, they use secondary data. Second, if they use fieldwork like in sociology, they use questionnaire, where we use here interview. So here question and interviews are quite important to write. How they differ from other social sciences? First about the fieldwork technique, and then methods used. Mainly participatory method for observation, semi-participatory method, using of interviews, using of schedules, right? These make anthropology as a unique subject than other social sciences, which are actually rely on the secondary data, where for the primary data collection they use this method, right? So this was your first question. We can start with the what is fieldwork technique, right? What is fieldwork? Second, how it started for beginning, then nature of fieldwork, then logic behind fieldwork, then different methods of fieldwork and differ from other social sciences. Then our second question is about what are questionnaire and schedule technique of field studies. As we discussed in question schedules, both are questions, right? But in questionnaire, you sent it, schedule, you take it yourself, right? Schedule is basically used by the anthropologist, where questionnaire is used by sociologist. Schedules can be changed, cannot be changed. It can be literate, illiterate, both. It is for literate only, right? It is rigid in nature. It can be controlled, right? In scheduled, you can change the question. You can change the question with the time. Here you cannot change the question, right? So first topic is that. Second, across their relative usefulness in anthropology. What are the usefulness in anthropology? First, to collect the primary data. The most important, anthropology is completely based on primary data, right? Because it works on simpler society, and simpler society are mainly those society which are not literate, right? So in these type of society, to collect data secondary, they are not very much mixed with the mainstream of the society. So a person goes there for society to get a proper data. Third, they are not aware about all the questionnaires what is made by these people, so it can be changed sometime. So what is usefulness? The most important, to collect accurate data. वो आपको यहाँ पे देना था in the second question. Then in third question, estimate the contribution of D.N. Majumdar in the growth of Indian anthropology. So what did you write about D.N. Majumdar sir? D.N. Majumdar sir as a student of Dr. S.C. Roy, right? उसके बाद में very much influenced by the American anthropologist, right? And made a great contribution to Indian anthropology in all the discipline except the linguistic one, right? He mainly worked on developmental anthropology, physical anthropology, and third was developmental, physical, and then सोशियो कल्चर के अलावा लास्ट थर्ड हमने किस पे बात किया था उनका? वी टॉक अबाउट दैट वन. किस पे बात किया हमने डी.एन. मजूमदार सर के? 3 पार्ट करते हैं. फर्स्ट डेवलपमेंटल एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, सेकंड, थर्ड क्या था? चढ़ पेपर लिखा था ना, आंसर दिया था ना आपने. क्या लिखते हो आंसर में? तीसरा किस पे काम किया उन्होंने? राइट, अब सही आए. किस पे काम किया? इकोनॉमिक एंथ्रोपोलॉजी. भूल जाते हो बहुत जल्दी, राइट? And then about the contribution of D.N. Majumdar, right? He was very much influenced by the functionalist approach of Malinowski, but sometimes he used the aspect of diffusionism of reverse also, right? In developmental anthropology, he was very much interested in the applied anthropological part. He worked on host impact. Then second, the reverse method of disappearance of useful traits, right? There he worked a lot about the Birhor, right? About the Birhor, the youth dormitories, about the impact of industrialization and urbanization of Ho tribe. There he worked a lot, right? Then he advocated to recruit anthropologists in policy formulation, administration, and executions, right? So that was D.N. Majumdar, sir. And second was the ecological anthropology, the third one, ecological. So second was physical anthropology. There he worked on anthropometry and serology, growth, mainly the worked on cross-culture method on Lucknow children about growth, right? Then race, concept of race, right? So the definition given by D.N. Majumdar about race is still valid a lot, right? And then the anthropometry was used by Ridgely also in his work. And then contribution ecological anthropology, where he was very much influenced by the Julian Stewart method, and he gave the MARC, M-A-R-C, man area resource cooperation theory, right? Work on the village, on the fringe, right? And then tribal work. In tribal we work on Ho, Hunda, Birhor, right? On those people he worked a lot. Then about the village study, village in the fringe, he worked. And the book he did, Tribe in Transition, Fortune of Tribes, right? Then D.N. Majumdar book is Village of Fringe, clear? And Picture of Tribes, I am telling you, these all are the books of this and work. So this was about the D.N. Majumdar, sir. Then we discuss about the participatory observation. Participatory observation is a method of observation in fieldwork analysis or fieldwork technique, where an anthropologist actually live between the society what he wants to study for a longer period, right? And the father of participatory observation in India, the word is called as B. Malinowski, right? Along with the Malinowski, other people who worked as a participatory observant was Margaret Mead, Ruth Benedict, and Corrado Buos and Erically Brown, right? They all people, what is participatory observation? We discuss what preconditions are there, what a participatory person do, what Malinowski did for that one, and what Margaret Mead in Samoans also, right? अच्छा, समोन के बाद में मार्गेट मीड के वहां पे कौन गया था जिसने कॉन्ट्रा किया था? फ्रीमैन. दोनों के बीच में 1927, 1926, 1946, 46. ये किस चीज की बात कर रहा था? सब्जेक्टिविटी. कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ एलपी विद्यार्थी, सर. विद्यार्थी सर ने क्या क्या काम किया हमारे? एलपी विद्यार्थी सर का काम बताइए. हमने बहुत लंबा चौड़ा काम किया एनएमएस का सोल्यूशन से पहले. एलपी विद्यार्थी सर को. ललिता प्रसाद विद्यार्थी, a great thinker, work on village, mainly the tribalogist of India, the main tribalogist of India, right? Work a lot, very much inspired by the Chicago school, Robert Redfield, Marriott, Singer and Milton, right? The first पहला काम उसने क्या किया? He work on the tribal culture, the detribalization and संस्कृताइजेशन, जिसको उसने कहा अगर उल्टा कर लो, desanskritization and tribalization, ट्राइबल की स्थिति चेंज करने के लिए. तो पहला पार्ट क्या था? कल्चर चेंज, द वर्ड कल्चर चेंज. जैसे डी.एन. मजुमदार ने दिया था, क्या दिया था? प्रोग्रेसिव एंड रिग्रेसिव. इसने दिया था कल्चर चेंज. पहला काम एलपी विद्यार्थी सर का ये रहा. दूसरा काम विद्यार्थी सर ने किया था इंडिया में सेक्रेड कॉम्प्लेक्स पे, सेक्रेड कॉम्प्लेक्स इन काशी एंड सेक्रेड कॉम्प्लेक्स इन गया, दोनों पे इन्होंने अच्छा काम किया। तीसरा वर्क इन्होंने किया था, अगर आपको याद हो तो, इंटरजनरेशन रिलेशन ऑफ गयावाल ब्राह्मण, राइट, गया के अंदर, राइट। उसके बाद इनका वर्क रहा NMS कॉम्प्लेक्स इकोलॉजिकल कंसेप्ट में, आज भी सबसे वैलिड है, ऑन मालेर्स, राइट, ऑन मालेर्स। ये इनका बड़ा LP विद्यार्थी सर का रहा, राइट। और उसके बाद में कंट्रीब्यूशन में बुक कौन सी LP विद्यार्थी सर की? सेक्रेड कॉम्प्लेक्स इन गया। द हरिजन्स जो हमने बात की थी, उन्होंने काम किया था कहां पे, और एक उन्होंने काम किया था किस पे, चेंजिंग डायनेमिक्स ऑफ लीडरशिप ऑफ ट्राइबल एंड विलेजेस, झारखंड मूवमेंट एंड SC ऑफ बिहार, द हरिजन्स, राइट। अब बात करते हैं कंट्रीब्यूशन ऑफ वेरे एल्विन। एज वी डिस्कस दैट वेरे एल्विन he was a missionary, was an administrator, very much inspired by the freedom movement, work on Bega, then work on Ghotul Muria Ghotul, right, and then Nefa, right, then most important the national park theory or the separation theory, finally clubbed with the Nehruji with the integration theory, Pancharia. So this was the paper of what we have discussed. तो किसने कितना पास में लिखा है पेपर के, जरा बताइए।